Has there ever been a time where you wondered about something and thought to yourself, wow, I really should know this?
Whether it be something as serious as the water shortage our world is facing or the future of digital real estate.
Or maybe something as strange as the origins of the Mandela effect, or what does Michelin have to do with food, or if lizard people actually exist.
Whatever it may be, we got you covered.
But that's not all. We turn it into one big drinking game. Welcome to Shots and Thoughts, the internet's only educational improv comedy game show involving shots of liquor and D20s.
We're learning what you should already know so you don't have to.
We
are
Cultivate.
We are Cultivate.
Hello and welcome to a special mini-sode of Ye Olde Crime, the show where Maddie and I discuss the funny, strange, and obscure crimes of yesteryear every Wednesday. This special bi-weekly segment is called Can You Crack the Cramp-Word, which is slang for a difficult or obscure term, which I thought was very fitting. And joining me today are Sonya and Courtney from the A Nefarious Nightmare podcast. And before we begin, I'd like to give them the opportunity to tell us a little more about themselves and the show before we get started.
Hi.
Thank you for having us. Can I give this disclaimer real quick? Normally, it would be Amanda that's with me, but since she has another podcast that she does on Sundays, unfortunately, she was not able to make it. But we have two people that work behind the scenes for A Nefarious Nightmare, and that would be Sonya as well as Shay. So Sonya has been very kind to join me today.
Thanks for having me and asking
Yay.
me.
Everything rhymed. That was fun.
Thank you for making the time to join us. I appreciate it. So for our listeners who may be unfamiliar with the show, can you tell us a little more about kind of how you and Amanda met and where the idea of the show came from?
Yeah, so I had noticed that I've known Amanda for a long time. And I noticed that she was doing a podcast called Fandom Family Chats, where they just talk about certain TV shows and they sit and roundtable discuss it, things like that, kind of like a review. And I had been thinking at that point that I kind of want to do a podcast because I'm fascinated by all aspects of true crime. But I've also worked in a setting where I was able to help keep certain offenders out of churches and other child serving organizations. And I was like, I want to utilize that in some way. And it was rewarding. So I asked her, I was like, hey, do you by any chance, are you interested in true crime at all? And she said, yes. And I was like, would you like to maybe potentially start a podcast? And she was like, oh my gosh, yes. So we kind of started the podcast and, it's a thing. So
it's a thing that happens and it's real.
It's there.
So then to kind of piggyback off of that, when did you kind of get involved, Sonya, with the podcast?
I was a listener since I think episode 1.
Nice.
Courtney and I met on a mom group 5 years ago.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago. I don't think we've ever narrowed that down. But she told me about her idea, and as soon as the first episode came out, I started listening. Then just within the past, 3 months, she needed someone to help her with the social media side of it. So she had asked me.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was one of those decisions that I will never regret because she's been... oh my gosh. I have to say, mental health is one of those things that I advocate heavily for, which is why, we have our Patreon only podcast. You've been on it, not so nefarious criminals. And that whole thing is strictly, we believe that laughter is the best medicine.
Yep.
When we're dealing with crime, it tends to take a toll. So, we do that, but so does social media. Social media sucks. And so I'm like, hey, Sonya, could you just do this for me? Because I just don't want to.
Yeah.
So
that's the unfortunate thing about social media, especially in the true crime space, is that it can be really, really toxic at times.
Very.
And it's for as helpful and as great as it is for like getting the word out and doing certain things, like there are just as many things where you're like, can we stop? Can we not? Like it's
Mhm.
just gross. So
Yep.
kudos to you, Sonya, for
Thank you.
taking that on, because as a person who manages the social for Yield Crime, I know how gross it can be out there. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just in 3 months, right, Sonia? You've seen all of everything that I've
Yes.
told you. Ugh.
yep,
Yuck.
And
So,
more.
Yep.
Yeah.
yep. So on your show, you focus on bringing awareness to like lesser known crimes and specifically crimes against extra vulnerable people.
Correct.
What sort of drew you to this subset of true crime?
Wow. So, like I said, I used to work, and I'll go ahead and name drop because it's been long enough. I worked at an organization called Ministry Safe. And what they did was they would basically prevent churches and other child serving organizations from employing or allowing volunteers that also have a history of sexual assault or pedophilia or things like that, sex offenders. And I was an administrative assistant, and I had seen firsthand some of the testimony. And first of all, it made me deeply sick to see some of the stuff.
Yeah.
But secondly, something in me, like, I didn't want to be part of that company for that long just because it was starting to get to me, because my child was only like 1, 2, and even 3 at that time. But I still felt like it was rewarding because I was kind of part of it.
Yep.
And seeing all of those cases, just my heart just went so it's hard not to feel for those babies and children. But then you also find out that there's so many vulnerable people that get overlooked, such as people of color,
Yep.
the LGBTQ plus community. You've also got your missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and you've
Yep.
got all kinds of people that are just overlooked, like sex workers. And it's just like, no, they are humans, just like you and me. We need to pay more attention and always, this sounds cheesy because it is our closing, but it's like we have to be vigilant because, we have to protect them. We have to protect the hive, because bees, they really are resilient, strong, but they're also vulnerable, just like the people that we talk about.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's just a big heart for it.
Well, and you're right. It's one of those. It's not necessarily like a demographic, but it's just that whole, like, there's a whole section of humanity that people just try to like almost like forget exists. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like just shove them off to the side and just focus like all of our efforts on either blue-eyed children that go missing or
Right.
your blonde and beautiful woman that was horribly
Right.
attacked. Not that they're not worthy of publicity and stuff, but
Right.
there's just as many people who you never ever hear about.
Well, we do like to include, because it's just kind of a very wide spectrum as it is, but we do include women in the whole quote unquote vulnerable category, because unfortunately, even the strongest ones, they're still seen as vulnerable. Like in law enforcement eyes, they will see them as vulnerable, but they also tend to be targets to such offenders. So it's like, well, along with protecting women and children, we also have to protect those that are especially, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. And this is my favorite question to ask. I ask everybody. I know it's hard as podcasters to pick our like favorite episode, but is there an episode that you're either very proud of how it came out or that like really stuck with you after the fact?
I'm gonna let Sonya go first on that one. Put you on the spot.
I've been voluntold. And it can be more than one. I mean, if you can't choose, I mean,
I have a soft spot for the case that's coming out in 2 weeks. A friend of mine was brutally murdered.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. And they are covering that for the second time.
Okay.
In 2 weeks. So that's one of my favorites. And I just got a sneak peek to listen. And it's amazing. It's covered perfectly. I couldn't ask for better coverage of it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And I like our Tamala case as well.
That one's a good one.
Yeah, that one, it needs a lot. Like my sister, she's from the same city where Tamala was murdered, and she had no idea. that there was even something so awful that happened to her. So
I would say for me, obviously, I'm a little bit biased because, I've gotten to know Justin Barnard through Sonya, but also through that case that, we've covered, which, quick explanation, we're getting rid of the original because we started out way different than we are now, and I wasn't happy with it. But
Gotcha.
regardless, I got to know Justin through his story and through Sonya and through their friend Christina. And so I am a little biased on that one. So of course that one. But I also have to say the entire Minding the Beehive series.
yeah.
Because that one was a massive passion project for both myself and Amanda. Took a lot of work. It was a 2.5 part series that turned into an 8-part series.
Oh, wow.
And we have seen, and I can't get too much into it right now, but we have seen justice start to occur.
Nice.
And it's just kind of amazing to watch people get punished basically for what they have done to 40 plus women. So it's.
And watch some of these women almost gain closure.
That part.
Through telling their story.
Yep.
And having their voice heard.
That's awesome.
A Nefarious Nightmare is a true crime podcast focusing on lesser-known crimes and crimes against those deemed extra vulnerable.
Every now and then, we cover more well-known crimes due to the fact that it is relevant or even interesting regarding the cases we cover. And the bee is a symbol for all victims as we recognize their strength, resilience, and vulnerability.
So join us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or just about any podcast platform. Remember, when you mess with the bees,
you get the hive.
Well, now that we've done that, we're gonna go to the funny section of the show now.
Yeah,
where...
sorry, didn't mean to bring everybody down.
I know. I was like, now that we're all sad,
let's get happy.
I'm gonna bring us right back up again as we start our Cramp-Word segment.
Yay!
And sorry, Sonya, but you're up first. Wow. Coming in hot. So, Sonya, your first term is palming, like palm of your hand, palming.
My own mind went somewhere gross.
So I automatically just go towards like fighting because I'm 100 foot tall. And so anytime anyone comes towards me, I just put my hand out on their forehead and they can't reach me. So I don't know the word for that.
It's it has to be palming. And girl, like I just had this vision of a really, for whatever reason, I had this vision of like a really very tall.
Well, they're always going like this.
T-Rex.
And, like my hands.
Why do I have these visions? Like it's a T-Rex, like pushing back another T-Rex on the forehead and saying, "You're short.
No,
go away.
Can't do it." All right. Would you be surprised if I told you that wasn't it?
I'm very surprised.
I know. So according to Victorian slang, palming is when you rob shops in pairs. So like when there's two of you robbing a shop at the same time.
Oh, palming. Again,
maybe kind of like the whole sticky fingers type of thing. And that's
my mind keeps going somewhere gross. Like,
well, now you need to share it because you keep saying it.
Well, whenever, okay.
Safe space.
It's okay?
Yeah,
okay.
Safe space.
Because I should have asked in the very beginning, is it okay if I get gross and cussy?
You can get gross and cussy. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Palming. Noun. No. Verb. No. Wait, I don't know.
Adverb?
Courtney.
Both?
Merriam-Courtney dictionary. The other version of fisting. And
now that just makes me think of. Did you ever watch Scrubs? Did you ever watch Scrubs?
I did. I have watched a couple of episodes. Yeah,
the episode where they were talking about masturbation, and JD's like, sometimes I sit on my hand until it goes numb, and then it's like the stranger. That's kind of what I picture, like palming being.
Palming, yeah.
Just kind of like just kind
my
of shake
Lorenzo.
hands with it,
Yeah.
I guess.
And then sticky fingers is the result of palming.
There you go.
Y'all are now thoroughly grossed out. I'm sorry. Bad
palming
guess, you know.
for pleasure.
Palming.
Palming.
It's funny because I could tell by the look on your face, that's exactly what you were thinking.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm thinking gross things. And I was like, yeah, I know what you're thinking.
That's like 99% of the time. But I'm not gonna even lie. Like, you can't help but like, listen, I'm 40, but like sometimes I act like a 12-year-old boy. It is what it is.
I mean, I still
So.
think farts are hilarious. So
They are.
Yes.
They're absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely.
they're always
Like,
they're
there's
never
nothing
not funny.
Yeah, there's
I'm
nothing.
guilty of your mom jokes, so we all
Hey!
have her.
You know what?
The problem is when I say them to my child. He's like, you're my mom.
I'm guilty of saying like, that's what she said
Yes.
in
Oh,
like
yeah.
meetings and stuff,
That's
like
what she
work
said.
meetings. And thankfully I
Mhm.
work in a place where people are like cool with that kind of humor, but like that's my guilty thing as a
I've made
small
my
child.
mama jokes before. People always thought that was weird. They're like, "Are you disrespecting your mama?" I was like, "My mom and I, like, the way we get along is we call each other bitch. Like, we get along." It is. Do you not do that with your mom? Like,
All right, Courtney,
yes.
your first term is Zounderkite.
Oh, why didn't I get the gross one?
Palming.
Okay, Zounder. What? Zounder.
Zounderkite.
Zounderkite. Zounderkite. Zounder and kite. So, for whatever reason, I immediately thought of sauerkraut, but I know that's not what it is. That's just where my mind went. It's like sauerkraut. Zounderkite. Dude, I don't even know. Like,
It kind of sounds like sauerkraut if you had like a stuffy nose and you were trying to say sauerkraut.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like it's like a mixture of sauerkraut and Gesundheit, but I know it's neither one of those things. Listen, you're talking to the person that thinks that PA for, Pennsylvania
Mm-hmm.
automatically resorts to Virginia in my mind. So,
Dude, that was so confusing.
Zounderkite. God, I can't. Like, is this, it's like I don't know. Okay, I'm going to throw something out there, okay?
Okay.
It's a form of palming, but with kites while you sneeze.
That's a very specific kink.
That is.
No, it's not a kink. Because remember, you're robbing somebody with a friend.
Oh, you're going to the robbing. Okay.
Yeah.
You're
Y'all are
using-
so gross.
We're on a whole different page.
Y'all have dirty minds, guys.
You just come in and like distract people with the kites while you're like just throwing things into your pockets.
Zounderkite. Zounderkite. I'm right.
I think
Alright.
it's drinking while you're at the park with kites.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that is not the definition of Zounderkite.
Oh my God.
According to English slang, Zounderkite is an idiot.
See, I was right. I was right.
Specifically an idiot whose stupid conduct results in awkward situations.
Okay. So
So it's me.
I was like, it's
No,
me.
I was
Hi.
right because listen, my original definition was palming while flying a kite and sneezing. Same thing, idiot.
whose stupid conduct results in an awkward situation. You're like,
Such
what?
as right now is an awkward situation. I was right. I got the Cramp-Word, guys.
Half credit.
Okay, cool.
All right. Sonya,
Yes.
your second term is windsucker. And no, it is not sexual in nature.
Are you sure?
What happened was
Oh my gosh.
windsucker. See, I would go with idiot on that one. Like you, like cotton-headed niggy mutton windsucker. That's where I go.
I can't wait to tell y'all what I think it is.
Do it. Go for it.
Basically, when you fart, but then you suck it right back up in your mouth.
Oh my God.
You like
Or you
farting?
somehow suck it back up into your asshole.
Yeah. Windsucker.
It's a reverse fart. Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh,
Oh my goodness.
that's what I'm gonna use that as from now on.
But
According to Victorian slang, a windsucker is an envious person or a coveter.
I know a couple of those.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to suck the wind out of your sails.
Mm. Mm.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's deep. You know,
Yes.
I do not like a windsucker.
Nope.
I don't like windsuckers. Either
Nope.
version. I mean, it seems like it would be
Nope.
painful to suck that fart right back up, but
Well,
Homing
depending on the
windsuckers.
situation, windsuckers make me famous. So
like right now.
depending on the situation.
Oh.
All right, Courtney. Your second term is cock one's toes.
What?
In my windsucker.
Cock one's toes? What'd you say?
Cock one's toes.
Cock one's toes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not smart, but you know when you when you cock back a gun, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that it's like when you're trying to stand firm. I'm probably wrong, but this is where my mind is going. Okay. So when you're standing firm,
I'm following you.
okay, when you're standing firm in like a firm stance, right?
Mm-hmm.
You cock your toes back to just keep that ground, like
To
keep
really
grounded.
kind of dig your heel in.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'm smart.
I may not be a smart man, but I know what love is. Do you have a guess, Sonya?
I think it's someone who's like egotistical.
Okay. To cock one's toes.
That's a good one.
That is
Like,
a good one.
look at that guy cocking his toes over there.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it. Fuck. Okay.
I changed my answer. I moved the steel. All right. According to Victorian slang, cock one's toes means to die.
That makes sense.
That does make sense.
Oddly enough.
So it
Like
is an egotistical person, but dead. And,
Yep.
you know.
And they've sucked their last wind.
Uh-huh.
While palming.
Yeah.
We could
R.I.P.
totally make a story out of this.
I know.
R.I.P. But also rip.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, on that sexy note, I'm not quite sure where to go with that transition. Maybe sexy and head cock in it. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Sonya and Courtney for joining me today for Can You Crack the Cramp-Word?
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Always. Can you please tell our listeners where they can find you on social and when new episodes of your show come out?
Sonya, you go with the socials. Because you're the
can
social
find
person.
Us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all of the things. You can listen to us wherever you listen to a podcast. And we even have a Patreon, which you should subscribe to.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Please
Shameless plug.
Yeah. Please subscribe because we're broke.
I feel that.
So yeah.
And when do new episodes come out?
Every Tuesday.
Unless you're on Patreon, then they come out early.
Yep.
Nice. Well, thank you again for joining me for another hilarious edition of
Thanks
Can
for
You Crack
having
the
us. It was
Cramp-Word?
fun.
Yeah, we had fun.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, as always, I'm Lindsay, and I'll see you next time with another tale as old as crime.
Do you enjoy the drama of a good relationship story? Or judging whether or not someone is an asshole? Then you should check out the Reddit on Wiki podcast, where I, Josh Shell, and my co-hosts John and Sean react to some of the craziest stories we can find on Reddit. From terrible relationship stories to crazy mother-in-laws, we cover it all every Monday and Friday. So subscribe to Reddit on Wiki on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, bring the tea.